domino effect or snowball pile on to whoever the scammers say. That's like 10 years ago when they said they were going to trade on terror attacks. Well, of course, then they get to stage them themselves.
Well, that's another point. The terror attacks was the policy analysis market that John Poindexter at the Pentagon was trying to put in place based on my technology, the virtual specialist technology. But they had such an outcry against it that they banned it. Now, flash forward a couple of years, and Cantor Fitzgerald, who bought my technology, they tried to launch Cantor Exchange to trade box office futures. But the Motion Picture Association of America got the Congress to ban the concept of box office futures exchange because they had a lot of emails from people who were threatening to injure or to kill talent that was trading on the box office futures exchange. And so the MPAA, to defend their constituency of stars in Hollywood, got Congress.
That's right. One mafia figured out the bigger mafia was going to use this to take them over.
Right. But what's funny is that there's no such protection for American politicians. So the assassination risk is quite high. People who are short politicians will want to, do injury to them to make money on this new Nadex market. But it was considered not much of a problem as a Hollywood star being injured. So it shows you where America's values are. Gwyneth Paltrow deserves more protection than the president of the United States, clearly. Because
our own troops breathing DU, because they're the real enemy. They want them to go kill people, but then they know the troops and the actuaries are going to wake up and be a threat to the tyrants, and so they're glad that they're using DU. That's a soft kill weapon that'll get rid of them later.
Yeah, so this will put a price on all the politicians' head, and so this is what's going to start up in January. And when you get into the next election cycle, because it'll be obvious that there's massive fraud in terms of the misuse of these new securities markets brought to you by the same people who are not regulated, anything going on Wall Street.
And this is pure betting, just like who's going to win, the Redskins or the Cowboys, the 49ers or the Steelers. I mean, this is just pure gambling.
Well, gambling plus derivative markets. So you'll be able to leverage your bet. If you put on $1 million bet, you can leverage that to $10 million or $100 million.
And then they run the government so it's too big to fail, so it's gambling with our money and our future.
Yeah, and then when the next election is determined that it was completely fraudulent, they'll say we can't investigate because it'll be a systemic risk to the banking system because these Wall Street banks have hundreds of billions of dollars tied into political futures derivatives.
Yeah, the derivatives fraud paradigm is invading reality and waging war against it.
Right, and it's now in the very machinations of the voting and political system, the democratic systems of America have been securitized, financialized, and turned into derivatives. And this is all starting up in January. It's a huge multi-billion-dollar trading platform in Chicago, regulated, or I should say not regulated, by the CFTC and the CME, the same people who completely missed the MF Global scandal and all the other scandals that came before it. And this is really combining the two worst elements of American society, graft in Washington and fraud on Wall Street.
By the way, when you say miss it, most of the regulators that's now come out actually got money in the pocket from MF Global. I mean, they missed it, like somebody walking up and punching you in the nose missed it. They know exactly what they're doing. It's just they're getting so bold now, Max.
Right. They're totally conflicted. Absolutely correct. They're pocketing because inside information, as we recently discovered or has been talked about, in Washington is actually legal for Congress to trade on material inside information in the stock market. Now they'll be able to trade on information about themselves. So Rick Perry could start a rumor that he's suddenly turned homosexual and short himself on the exchange and make money on his own false rumor, and then use that proceeds to finance his election campaign. As
long as there's idiots that'll invest in it, but they don't care because they tell you you're investing in a regular pension, but really it's being leveraged and sold into derivatives. They've collectively gone insane, Max. I think this has got to implode sometime.
Well, they're finding new ways to get deeper into the daily lives of the average American who is now going to be confronted with a decision to make when they go to the polling station. Do they vote their pocketbook, as they've been speculating for the past 12 months in the derivatives political futures markets, or do they vote their conscience? And what we've discovered is that more and more people, because they're so far in debt of course, are going to vote their pocketbook as a way to get out of debt. And this is yet another way to separate America from its identity as something relating to the Constitution.
And again, it's all done through fractional or fiat money changing. And so the system can create just all this fake garbage, but then get people tied to it so they'll sell out their own mother because their entire future is tied to the fraud. You got to admit it's a genius plan, Max.
Well, I invented it. Of course it's ingenious. It's all based on my technology, the virtual specialist technology, patent number 5950176, filed and patented in 1996. And, of course, now my other company, the Hollywood Stock Exchange, is going public for $100 million in the next few weeks. So it'll give you an idea of what the technology is worth. They're now based in Las Vegas. So they're going to start trading a whole betting scam based on a pure betting, Vegas style, on that technology, and that's going to be going forward now in the next few weeks as well. So the casino gulag model that I've been talking about for a couple of years is coming into fruition on the political front, the entertainment front, the gambling front, because Obama has let it be known that he now favors passage of bill that will allow online gambling. That's the big one as far as I can see it, because this will mean that all these people glued to their iPhones and iPads and online Farmville stimulated gaming platforms will be gambling now with real money, and this will be the only job left in America.
And they don't tell you now when your kids download some video games and there's some extra creds you got to pay that's gambling, and your child is being taught by the global mafia how to gamble. They don't tell you that. It's totally trendy. It's so cool.
Well, not only that, but how are most students in the UK paying off their student debts? They're going into prostitution.
Yeah, I saw that in the BBC, and the media's like, this is good. Little Jenny's 21, and she had, turned 6 or 7 tricks a night, and it's wonderful.
Gambling, prostitution, and drugs. Mostly it's legal drugs, because all the latest generation of mood-altering happy pills, etc., is legalized drugs. So you've got drugs, gambling, and prostitution, the 3 pillars of the global economy, now brought to you vis-a-vis social gaming platforms, new online gambling
But
laws.
it is like a little red devil in an actual pajamas is running this, because it's so ridiculously destructive and evil and almost cartoonishly bad. I mean, take the NDAA. Somebody called in and mentioned this and asked if it was true, and I'd seen it a month ago, 2 weeks ago. I'd seen it in AP, Reuters, a minor footnote, that, oh, by the way, the military is going to allow troops to bring their donkey, their pig, whatever, as long as it's their own private house off base. And you can marry pigs, whatever, in the military now, turkeys, possums. And the Republican leadership voted for bestiality. I mean, my point is it's like cuckoo land or something. It's like it can't get any crazier, but it does, Max. What is going on? Now you're not conservative like Senator Graham if you're not for, marrying possums.
Well, I heard Donald Rumsfeld fell in love with one of his horses, so they went ahead and they tried to pass this law to cover for his bestiality, and that's what's the whole backstory there.
Are you kidding?
Yes.
Well, I'm not kidding. Did you see where the NDAA legalizes bestiality?
Yeah, no, I did see that, and I'm not exactly sure why they felt it needed to legalize the military having sex with goats in Afghanistan, except maybe there's some industry that's about to start up in those regions that we're not quite familiar with. I know that, you can really go to town with this and make a lot of crazy
Well, that
jokes,
could be political correctness training, like they'll teach 8-year-olds now, I guess, in class. They already teach them stuff similar to that, so I guess, well, we're being bigoted right now.
Yeah, it's a remarkable story that they felt that it was necessary to allow the military to legally have sex with animals. But I'm not sure exactly what the precedent was. I'm like Bob Chapman on this. I'm a bit gobsmacked and startled. It's hard to even know how to respond.
I'm really flattered you actually listen to the show, Max. All right, well, let's continue. What do you see coming up in the rest of the year? Because I see these articles here, and how did you sell this to Cantor but then not ever get paid anything? Because here it is. It's on record. These are your inventions. So I guess that's just they're allowed to have that, I guess.
Well, they did. They engaged in an illegal third-party transaction what happened was basically one of my board members, a guy by the name of Woody Knight, Howard Woody Knight, he was loaned $2 million from Cantor to invest in Hollywood Stock Exchange, a preferred issue, which gave him voting control, without telling the board that he was doing this. At the same time, he was arranging to sell the stock in the company as a swap that was arranged. So illegal, it's a fraudulent conveyance. So he committed massive securities fraud.
Well, you need to then, if you believe that's the case, you need to do something about it, Max. Let's come back, get more of what you see coming up in the new year. We'll be right back. Last radio show of the year, folks. 2012 up next. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back live. Final segment of this special 4-hour transmission. This will be the last radio show of 2011. Wow, that'll take some getting used to, 2012. And it looks like that year is shaping up to be crazy. They've got the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, the head of the Israeli military, saying they're getting ready to attack Iran. We've got record gun sales, all sorts of other bedlam. But in closing, Max Keiser, quickly, just any trends you see in 2012, and what do you make of just the all-out hysteria as the so-called mainstream media runs out of bullets and is having trouble slowing Ron Paul?
Yeah, they can't seem to stop the Ron Paul momentum at this point, but they're going to pull out all the stops, and they're going to try everything they possibly can to stop the Ron Paul Express from continuing. And so it'll be quite interesting. I'd love to see Ron Paul get the nomination and then debate Barack Obama, because I think he would be the one guy to expose Barack Obama as an utter fraud and a mere puppet of the banksters, and because he's just a very plain-spoken, smart guy who would appeal to anybody who's interested in social justice and some kind of return to values as expressed in the Constitution.
But he doesn't want to bomb all the brown people and turn it into a glass parking lot. He's racist.
Well, yeah, the thing is that, that seems like a very thin gruel from his opponents to dredge up some third-party tangential, bigoted remark that was made out of context. I mean, that's a Hail Mary pass, to try to smear Ron Paul.
Well, newsletters were the internet of the day. At one time, at the peak of this, there was 14 Ron Paul newsletters per week. I mean, people were reading these like newspapers. It was a giant business and political, and most of these were the supplements. There's only 9 of them. They were the supplement promo letters sent out by a company hired to promote it. The media knows that. That's why they're discredited scum.
Well, it's also rather duplicitous because what do you have now? You have people like Michelle Bachmann, making incredible racist comments about Arabs. But making racist comments about Arabs today is considered to be de rigueur. It's like, oh, this is perfectly acceptable. It's just that America's taste in racism has changed, which is not to say that there's any connection at all to be made with what was going on 20 years ago in the Paul camp. But, America is, going back to the American Indians and the slavery days up to present day is built on racism. That's what America stands for to the rest of the world. I mean, I live outside of America, and the first thing people think of when they think of America is this racist country that commit genocide not once, but twice, with the American Indian and then the slave trade. So it's not like this is new for the American people. Now they want to commit genocide in the Middle East with their friends in the region.
Well, now we're getting the NDAA, though. There's always, every culture always wants to grab some group that it's okay to basically hunt. I mean, humans are such predators. We'll engage in predator or predatate upon ourselves. That's a human trait, but you're right. The United States certainly has its history of that. And now the NDAA, I mean, look at that, Max. Everything we talked about now happening. We'll secretly arrest you. The military will come after you. I mean, that's what every third world nation falls to, Max.
Well, as I've been saying on your show for a few years, there's two choices, fight or flee. Personally, I made the choice of fleeing. I'm not living
Max,
there.
We're out of time. Great job. Look forward to talking to you in the new year. God bless. There goes Max Keiser. By the way, they ran here the audio, free audio stream. It's now a free video stream. at Infowars.com. We're going to restream the whole show right now, the video, the entire radio, TV show today at Infowars.com, upper right-hand corner. Can't miss it. See you tonight, 7 o'clock, last TV show of the year of our inaugural nightly news.